Good evening, and welcome to the CCMFans Report. I'm Arthur Fischel, and tonight, both Mariners' sides took the long road home. The men travelled to Parramatta and produced a first half that should probably come with a warning label, followed by a second half that almost rewrote the story. And the women headed to Leichhardt, where a tight match slipped away on a single moment, and one commentator said "Coco di Scipio" often enough to violate workplace safety guidelines. We'll start in Parramatta, where the Mariners treated the first half like an optional warm-up, and the Wanderers treated it like a fire drill. It took 40 seconds for the ball to end up in our net. Redmayne saved the first effort, Kriev buried the second, and the only people caught flatter than our backline were the fans still finding their seats. To be fair, we hit back quickly. Maurigus equalised inside 9 minutes after a neat move down the left and a helpful deflection. But any hope of settling was short-lived. 2 minutes later, Barbaros's flicked in a finish that made the defence look as though they'd wandered in from a charity match. Then came the first VAR intervention, a handball call on tap, examined, re-examined, and eventually punished. Barbaros's converted again, 3-1, and fully earned. The Mariners stayed in it the only way they could, by appealing for the next penalty. This one was ours. After another long review, McAlmont hit the spot kick cleanly into the top corner, and suddenly we reached half-time with a scoreline that suggested balance, and a performance that very clearly did not. After the break, the chaos evaporated. The Wanderers retreated, the Mariners circulated the ball harmlessly, and the shot count slowed to a crawl. Plenty of possession, very little threat. There was one late spark. Nathan Paul, who had spent most of the game bailing water out of the back line, stepped forward and unleashed a strike that required a superb save from Lawrence Thomas in stoppage time. Had it gone in, we'd be telling a very different tale. It didn't. Donaci's introduction steadied things. Tapp looked more comfortable once he shifted back into midfield, and Ngor's movement gave us sporadic hope. But across the full 90, we were chasing a disaster of our own making. Final score: Western Sydney 3, Central Coast 2. A poor first half, a functional second half, and a reminder that late bravery rarely compensates for early generosity. For how it felt from the stands, here's Martha Fischel.
Thank you, Arthur. If you only saw the second half, you might think we played quite well. But if you sat through the first, well, that's the sort of half that makes you question your life choices. Supporters felt it straight away. That stunned, slightly hollow feeling when the ball goes in before you've even taken a proper breath. Then the second goal, then the penalty, and you could almost sense the disbelief rolling through the crowd. Not anger, just that long, tired, "oh, come on," that Mariners fans know far too well. It wasn't one mistake in particular, it was the whole picture. Too much space, too many red shirts drifting free, and a midfield stretched in 3 directions. You could feel the frustration in the air, that sense of watching a match slip away before it had properly begun. But then, as this team somehow always manages, parts of it came together. Donaci came on, and the back line suddenly remembered where everyone was supposed to stand. Tapp moved back into midfield and looked far more settled, and when Paul let fly in stoppage time, you could hear that tiny intake of breath from every Mariners fan. Right before Thomas got across and spoiled the moment. There were positives. Alfie worked himself ragged. Maurigus kept trying to drag us forward. Ngor's energy gave us something to cling to. The effort was there. It just arrived an hour late. So yes, a messy night. Proud of the fight in the second half. Frustrated by the chaos in the first. And still quietly hoping that one of these days we'll manage both halves at once. Still proud, still frustrated. The perfect Mariners cocktail. And just to top it off, Claude had this one down as a low-scoring draw.
Claude? Who's Claude?
An AI model.
Oh, good Lord. Well, that explains it. You ask AI for anything and you get rubbish back.
That's a bit harsh, dear.
If anything, generous. Why would anyone use that trash? For the numbers on tonight's match, we're joined again by our data analyst, Analytics. Good to have you back. Anna?
Thanks, Arthur. The numbers match the way the match felt. The Wanderers created more, 13 shots to our 8, and their expected goals of 150 reflects the danger they generated early. Ours was 1.10, mostly from the penalty moments. After halftime, their threat dropped sharply. Only 2 off-target shots, and none on target, which is a marked improvement from the first half. Passing accuracy was almost identical, 87% for us, 86% for them. In conclusion, the first half set the tone, and we were always chasing it. And the clearest indicator of pressure, the Wanderers recorded 24 touches inside our box, compared to 11 in theirs.
That's quite a lot of box touching for one evening.
Yes, it's usually a reliable measure of territorial control.
Right.
Arthur.
Yes, dear. Thank you, Anna. Joining us now is a football analyst who has spent many years working with clubs throughout Eastern Europe, offering guidance on player development and match preparation. We're pleased to have him on the programme for the first time. Viktor Grassfeld, welcome.
Thank you, Arthur. It is good to be indoors. The win tonight has opinions.
I'd like to begin with the turning point of the match. Once Donaci came on at half-time and once Tapp moved back into midfield, the structure settled noticeably. What's your view on how personnel changes can shift a match like that?
Arthur, in my home valley, when you replace a tired ox with a fresh one, the cart does not move faster, but it stops drifting toward the river. Sometimes a team only needs a steady animal to remember the road.
Right. Well, I'm very glad the cart stayed out of the river.
We also had 2 handball decisions in this match. One against us, one in our favour. It's unusual to see that twice in a single game. What do you make of moments like that?
Where I come from, the hand is honest, Arthur. If it rises once, it is instinct. If it rises twice, it is confession. But referees do not judge confession. They judge geometry. This is the difference between justice and football.
Geometry. Of course, makes total sense.
We also saw a big difference in attacking pressure. Western Sydney finished with 24 touches inside our box, while we had 11 at the other end. How do you read that kind of imbalance?
Yes, the touching of the box. In Moldova, we do not count how many times a man touches the box. We ask why he feels compelled to keep returning to it. Sometimes it is ambition, sometimes it is fear. Sometimes it is simply that the winter is long and everyone is trying to stay warm.
Well, I suppose that is one way to think about it.
One last thing. The second half was far more controlled. Fewer shots conceded, fewer dangerous moments, calmer defending. How would you describe that shift in momentum?
Arthur, when the storm passes over the hill in the morning, the shepherd does not chase it. He simply closes the door, sits by the stove and waits for the silence. The Mariners found the silence, at least for a little while. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Always valuable insight. We turn now to the A-League Women, where the Mariners fell 1-0 to Sydney FC at Leichhardt Oval. The first half was busy without ever finding a breakthrough. Langman was tested early, Hunter and Tanner both forcing saves, while at the other end, Coco Di Scipio, Rasmussen and Krasula all had looks without troubling the keeper. The closest we came before the break was Coco Di Scipio's strike on 28 minutes, just over the bar. Right after half-time, the Mariners created one of their best chances, a close-range header from Barwick Gray in the 47th minute, well saved low at the bottom corner. It was a bright moment, but Sydney soon regained control. The decisive moment arrived in the 76th minute. Sarah Hunter carried the ball forward, laid it off to Madeline Caspers, and Caspers hit a clean right-footed strike from outside the box into the top centre of the net. Simple build-up, emphatic finish. The Mariners pressed late. Fuller struck wide. Baumann and Gomez kept pushing down the right, and deep into stoppage time, Barwick Gray almost rescued it with a left-footed shot from the centre of the box that sailed just past the top corner. Close, but not quite close enough. A stop-start match, 5 yellow cards, and a rhythm that never fully settled. Sydney took their moment. The Mariners couldn't quite find theirs. For the view from the stands, here's Martha.
Thank you, Arthur. Now, if you watched this with the commentary on, you probably joined the unofficial drinking game. Every time the commentator said Coco Di Scipio, you took a sip. By half-time, most of the coast were feeling it. And Mariner Mick, I hope you didn't have to drive anywhere afterwards. Watching it, the whole match just felt slightly out of tune. Not a bad performance, just that sense of being half a beat behind where we needed to be. The ideas were there. The effort was there, but the clean touches and confidence never arrived until very late. When Sydney scored, it wasn't shock, more that quiet sigh you get when something you've been bracing for actually happens. And it took us a little while to shake that and settle again. The lift came once the changes were made. Suddenly, the movement sharpened, the passes had a bit more purpose, and you could feel the belief creep back in. And that late surge, well, that was classic Mariners. The near miss, the collective groan, everyone leaning forward, hoping for that one perfect touch that never quite came. Nothing dramatic, nothing worrying, just one of those afternoons where the polish didn't show up. And that's fixable. We'll go again next week because that's what we do.
Time now for the Mooned Report. Under Warren Moon this season, the Mariners have mooned 2 teams, been lunar eclipsed twice, and produced one performance that can only be described as a half moon, bright on one side, chaos on the other. We remain, as ever, a celestial mystery. Across the club, the picture looks like this. The Mariners men sit 6th after 5 rounds, 2 wins, a draw, and 2 defeats, firmly in mid-table with room to rise. The women sit 10th, with 1 win from 4 and performances that feel closer than the table suggests. Looking ahead, the men are back home next Saturday, the 29th of November, hosting Melbourne City at 5 p.m. The women return home the following week, facing the Jets on Saturday the 6th of December, also a 5 p.m. kickoff. Until next time, this has been the CCM Fans Report.